Just going to jump in and take a look at Bitcoin, guys. If you woke up in the UK this morning, then you were probably looking at a green day. If you've been waking up in the USA right now, you're probably looking at a red day, because obviously in a very short space of time, we've had a big swing in another direction, and it's looking a little bit alarming on the Bitcoin price on the 15 minutes, but it's so essential to understand exactly why this is happening. Take a look at this, guys. Over the last 2 or so hours, we've had a big dump like that, and the reason for that, guys, is this. This is the US dollar index. This, right now, pretty much, is the highest the US dollar has been valued since 2001. Okay, it's crazy. There's a lot of macroeconomic reasons as to why that is, given interest rates, loads of other factors around the world right now. But this DXY shows the strength of the US dollar against other currency pairs. And I know everyone keeps showing you indicator after indicator showing you that this is going to happen because of this, but ultimately it's all happening because the dollar is against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is against the dollar. One goes up, the other has to go down. It's basically as simple as that. This keeps on going, and it's going to continue to push, guys, but eventually it is going to have to exhaust. But eventually it is going to exhaust, guys. But it's like anything, guys, supply and demand. The higher the price gets, the more people will want to sell it and the less people are going to want to buy it. Okay, so eventually this is going to come to an end. Whether or not we see a kind of a bounce here and a further push is unsure right now, but if we jump out to a 4 hour on the DXY, then you can see what we're seeing right now is a potential top. I've got my red supply zone right now, guys, and if this tops out here, then we're going to be looking at something pretty amazing, right? Because this is a 4 hour chart and we're running out of time in this wedge, right? So ultimately these wedges, more often than not always, break towards the downside. If this is going to do this and drop out the bottom of here, then you're looking at something like this, which no one seems to be looking at right now. Everyone's focusing too much on the crypto. If this dumps, then crypto is going to absolutely boom towards the upside, guys. And it's actually possibly going to be sooner rather than later, unless obviously we have something like this. If this plays out like this, then we're probably going to be in a bit of trouble. And let's jump back to Bitcoin to understand what that would really mean for us. So, sorry guys, this is a 4 hour chart. We had this previous demand zone down here, guys. Okay, so it means that when it gets to this level, people are willing to buy roughly within the level, not a solid buy or sell price. But what you can see is this here, which is the price target I've just taken from the height. If it was to break towards the downside, we would get to this level. Now I want to show you what is significant about this level, and we would need to just zoom back a bit in time, and you can see that this level here is significant, because back when the last time we were pretty much down here was in 2020, October 2020, which is a long time ago. But you can see that we had an accumulation, and then we had a rapid push towards the upside, showing institutional buying before a push back down to add more buys or missing out on orders, etc. What about the other guys who missed out on the first purchase? And then we had a push like this. So if the dollar is gonna continue to push aggressively against Bitcoin, then we can see Bitcoin potentially ending up in a zone like this. But without having to panic too much, guys, I want to show you what's happened here. We have had a double top. We are now starting to work back into this demand zone, guys. Now I've drawn a zone, guys, because support and resistance is kind of like a semi-mythical thing, because things kind of tend to push a little bit one way or another. We don't have exact lines in the sand, but you can see right now that we did originally come back down to this level, and then we've accumulated here before pushing aggressively. We had a retest at that level and then a push, and right now we're coming back to retest this area. Now if we're breaking significantly below kind of these areas through here, then we could still see a bit of support holding down here, somewhere in this area here, but ultimately losing that would see us capitulate down to where I've just put in that price target. Now I want you to understand about what might happen if we are to start falling lower and lower. Now what happens when you get markets like this, guys, is a lot of people are trying to buy the bottom, and they're doing it with leverage. So what that means is you might only have $1,000, but you can buy with $10,000 or whatever, which means that if it falls 10%, then you lose your whole position. And what happens when you get margin called or you lose your position like that, if it's a buy order, it gets flipped into a sell order. So there's a lot of people out there with a lot of trades open, but most significantly, there's people with billions of dollars on the table in those long positions. And if those positions close, then they're going to be forced to sell the market, which is why you get these kind of like slow drops, and then eventually you get something like that. And that's because of the sell orders that get forced into action. On the flip side of that, at the bottom, you have a lot of people with buy orders in who are waiting to buy at particular levels, whether that be $18,000, maybe even $12,000. I'm sure there's lots of buy orders, etc., spread out down through the prices, but ultimately, until we get a significant dump downwards, I think it's going to be a little bit worrying for Bitcoin right now, until we can see maybe a potential break from here. Now, on the flip side, if this little green box that I've shown here does turn out to be an accumulation zone, then we're going to be looking at a push towards the upside. And this sort of pattern comes to an end around the 10th of July. This would push us to 25,320, which you can see coincides nicely with that little wick down there. But this is what I was talking about, guys, these big kind of wicks towards the downside, where you have the big sell-offs followed by the big buyers. And because we are now sort of slowly capitulating towards the side, it does make me think that we are probably going to have another push before we're pushing back in an upwards direction. But ultimately, what is interesting here is if we are able to break there, and that does sort of play out something else. And you can see that this line that starts, what, $47,888. Now, if we manage to break that, guys, which ultimately, looking at moving sideways, if we are to move sideways, it's going to be around the 27th of July. Today's the 5th, so what, 22 days, 3 weeks from now. If we take a push like this, we could see something like that. Because these do tend, more often than not, to break towards the downside. But ultimately, if we are pushing lower, we could see something like this unfolding. And that would, again, bring us a bit later on in the day, down into August, where we could still be sort of capitulating under $20,000. Now, these are obviously scenarios, guys, right? You can see what happened each time, and every time we get the kind of mentality that's going to recover, and then whoop, comes towards the downside. It will, at some point, recover. We've just got to be patient and wait for it to come through. Right now, I'm accumulating crypto. Even if it goes lower to these levels, I'm still happy paying $18,000 or $19,000 for it, because I still believe that crypto is going to go up. I still believe that Bitcoin is worth well in excess of its all-time highs, which was around $70,000. So even from here to $70,000 is like a 2.5x, which is not a bad return on investment. Obviously, there's downside risk, so don't use any money that you can't afford to lose and you can't afford to really take out, because every time it drops, you can put in more, and then it lowers your dollar cost average. Guys, I hope that's been useful for you. Pay attention to what's happening right now. We have some key levels here. If we're dropping and significantly below sort of $19,000, I think we're going to have a dump towards lower levels. I'm not saying we're going to go exactly all the way down to $14,000, but that's what we've been looking at. And if we're breaking above this area here at $20,000 or just above $20,000, then we'll be looking to push on further towards a price target of around $25,171. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, guys, so be very cautious of the decisions you make. This is not financial advice. Go away and do your own research. Hope you've enjoyed that. Smash the thumbs up button, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye-bye.